Hello again, I hope this finds you well. Today's video was inspired by Alicia from Adventuredenali. I think that's how you say her name. Her latest ink video motivated me to create a place for me to swatch all of my inks so that I have a catalog of sorts. I decided to organize it by brand, but part of me wishes I did it by color. I just swatched a bit and then used a dip pen to write out the name. Using a dip pen doesn't always give you an exact representation of the ink though. Some of my inks appear more dark when I use the dip pen. I currently have 7 pens inked up at the moment, but only really use 2 of them on a regular basis. Alicia mentioned how she would have a schedule or rotation of some sort so that every pen will get used. I am currently favoring my Sage Quebeco and Sierra Mist combo at the moment, and find myself grabbing it every time I journal. Another thing I notice is that I have a lot of green inks. I have a type, but that also keeps me from exploring other colors. The ink I'm swatching right now is called Aurora Borealis. I have similar inks that I like more than this one, so I don't really use this one very often. Like I mentioned before, I definitely have a type and green inks are my favorite. The next ink is called Denim, which I only use to refill my husband's fountain pen. It's a nice blue, and I think it's a nice staple to have, but I don't personally use it. The next ink is very similar to Denim. It's a little bit lighter and it is a shimmering ink in Enchanted Ocean. However, when I use it, I don't really see the shimmer, so I don't know if it's something I'm doing wrong. Another staple to have is a black ink. This is Onyx Black, I believe, and it's kind of cloudy in this swatch, and it kind of has like a purple tone to it. Next up is the first non-green ink that I actually liked using a lot, and it is Ancient Copper, and it's this beautiful red, orange, like burnt orange color, and it's just beautiful. I love matching my pens with my inks, and since greens are my favorite color, most of my pens are greens, mints, and teals. Ochre is a nice bright color, but to tell you the truth, I kind of forgot about it. It's a pretty ink, but I prefer Ancient Copper over it. Multi-birthday inks were not my favorite. Olivine was my first one that I got, and I prefer my Safari over this one. However, I was then introduced to the Noir series on Multi-birthday, and I am just in love. Jade Noir is by far just a really beautiful ink. I have it inked up I think in 2 pens. In the Azure Noir, I have inked up in 1, and it is this nice pale kind of gray blue. And then I recently purchased a Copper Noir, which is not as nice as my Ancient Copper, but it's still really beautiful, and I have that inked up as well. Next up, I have 3 bottles of the Organic Studio inks, the Writers series. The first one is the Jane Austen Violet, which is much too light for my liking. My favorite, Henry David Thoreau Walden Pond, and it's just this beautiful teal that sheens red almost, and it's just beautiful. I don't currently have it inked up, but if I did, it would be in my Mint Quebeco. And then lastly, it's this pale orange, which is the Scott Fitzgerald orange. I spilled the bottle a few minutes after swatching this, so that's why you don't see me write out the sample, but I still prefer Ancient Copper over this orange Scott Fitzgerald ink. The next swatches are of my Robert Oster inks. I don't really use these very often because they don't appeal to me as much as my other inks do, but these are all my purpley kind of inks, which is really interesting how that kind of worked out, that they were all kind of pale and purple. So I don't know, they just didn't appeal to me the same way my green inks do, or just in general the way the Diamine inks do. I think I favor Diamine ink as a brand over other inks so far. Next up are 2 bottles of Noodler's ink. The first one is Purple Wampum, which I specifically looked for purple ink when picking this one out. Next one is General of the Army, I think that's what it's called, and I think this is a highlighter ink, which I have yet to really have a chance to test out. Next are my 2 bottles of Private Reserve. The first one is Cadillac Green. This is the first bottle of ink I have ever purchased. The next one is Sepia, which was one, I think maybe my second bottle of ink, and I just thought it was interesting. Lastly but not least is my Nostalgia Sierra Mist ink, which is off camera, sorry, but it is one of my favorite inks, and it's this pale green ink. Well, there you have my current collection of inks. I will hopefully keep updating this. This notebook will definitely be dedicated to all of the inks I have. I love the idea of being able to document all of my inks in one notebook in one place. So thank you, Alicia, for inspiring me to create my own catalog. Well, that's all I have for today. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.